Hello everyone, my name is Mistress Ava Black and I'm speaking exclusively to the buzz at Female Fetish Federation. But in about 2009, I was doing, sort of just general average type of photographic modeling. And I had loads of different assignments and I used to sort of go out and find jobs on my own that were quite stimulating mentally and quite challenging. So I'd have the stuff obviously that would come in generic, but I always wanted to just get involved in artistic projects and in all these different kind of photographic and just wonderful and colorful types of projects. And one of the people that I contacted was a brilliant photographer who's based out in Kent. And this is when I was living down in England. And I went and I did a shoot with him. And in the shoot, it was supposed to be basically just modeling prosthetics. Because he worked with a prosthetics company and they wanted to have a line of their works just basically modeled, and they didn't have any black models. So he contacted me because it was like, you know what, you seem to have the right look and you're quite Amazonian. And I just thought, oh, okay, well, I suppose, this is just, Western people speak. Because bear in mind, I am African, so a lot of these things just sometimes do go over my head. And they still do, all these years later. So I went to a shoot with him, and at that shoot, he kept saying, wow, you're so fierce, you're so striking, you're so commanding. And at the end of the shoot, he was like, do you want to do some fetish pictures? And I was like, what do you mean fetish pictures? He's like, you know what fetish is? And I was like, no, not really. I grew up in a very closed off society. I grew up in a very sheltered household where basically even swearing, one of the first things I had to do was learn how to swear. Believe it or not, because it was just something that was not an option in our household. We didn't even have a swear jar because swearing was just not an option. So we did a couple of pictures, if I remember. I think they were just basically me standing over a chair looking like I'm domming someone, and then me sitting in the chair looking like I'm being all subby, all tied up and stuff. And then he put them all together and it kind of looked like a BDSM thing, like where I was domming myself. And I thought, oh, these are really clever pictures. Oh, wow, wonderful. So I put them onto my portfolio, completely green as to what it was. And I kept getting all of these messages. Oh, wow, what a wonderful dom sub picture, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what on earth is all of this stuff? So I just got curious because my mind works that way. And I went off and I started researching into, fetish. The first thing that came up, of course, because, I went online and I did it. The first thing that came up was fetish sex. And I just thought, that's not me. But then I started looking around and, sort of looked at domination and submission and stuff like that. So from 2009... all the way until I started, I was mentored by these three mistresses, and they taught me the basics. They taught me how to, respond when people spoke to me. They taught me how to swear, which is quite fun. It felt really, really naughty because I had to do it like in front of a mirror with one of them like standing next to me, and it was just like, whoa. Yeah, so swearing is still something that even nowadays is still very, very difficult for me. I know, a mistress with soft limits, who knew? And then coming out of that in 2011, I decided then, you know what? It had got to a point where every single day I was waking up and all I could think about was fetish, 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 fetish. I was like, fuck this. This is where my life is supposed to be. I'm just going to set up. I'm going to set up and just become a dom. Because I basically went through ages of, pretty much just being so deeply involved in it that it was pretty much taking over my life. And I just thought, you know what, I'm struggling to, juggle the whole work and going off to all these different events and sessions and whatever. I might as well just see if I can make it as a mistress. So in about 2010, 2011 properly, I set up shop. And I became Mistress Ava Black. The question I'm still really, sort of wondering about myself. How do you actually get more people to spread the word or understand what it is that we actually do as kinksters, professional and otherwise? And the simple answer is, if it's public support, we're not going to get that in a hurry. We just basically just have to be ourselves, and where possible, be very loudly ourselves. And if people come along, they do, and if they don't, well, it's their loss, isn't it? Yeah. So the one thing that I've learned is everyone is different. Everyone has a different path that they're walking. And the one thing that we should try to do, which is always very hard to do, but the one thing that you absolutely must do is allow people to be who they are. It's easy when people are what you want them to be and they're playing ball with your fantasy or your fetish and you're getting great sessions or great fun time or whatever with them. But there are going to be times where, you have a mistress and mistress is going through a period of weakness. And your natural instinct is to basically say, well, you are the leader. And once you're starting to slide down that pole, I'm not interested anymore. But you have to accept that your relationship is an evolving, fluid thing and learn to accept mistress for who she is. And my notion is basically, I can only interact with the world the way that I am. So if someone were to come to me and, sort of say, hey, baby, I want to give you $1,000 and I want you to be my sugar baby, I'll just politely send them a message and say, thank you so much for the offer of the money. You do realize that I'm a mistress, don't you? So if you want to have a relationship with me, then you basically have to start to address me as a mistress. I won't play along just so I can get the golden pot at the end of the, rainbow, because at the end of the day, I'll get pissed off with that guy before he even releases anything. And that's just a waste of my time and energy. So the one thing that I've learned is that people try too hard. People try too hard to be the fantasy or, the expectation of the other. And I think the main thing that we need to do, Dom subs or Kingsters or, anyone who's just even curious about the community, is learn to be genuine. I have learned that I'm a weirdo. Yes, well, it's the truth. I've learned that I'm a weirdo. I've learned that the things that I was always curious about when I was younger actually have a name and, collectively put together just spells weirdo. I went through a phase where I was exploring, again, the kinds of relationships I wanted. And I realized that I didn't have time on my hands, so I couldn't, sort of date a guy for like 3 months and then get rid of him. And I decided, well, you know what? In order for me to get to know what kind of relationship I want, I've got to date loads of different guys. And I would date loads of different guys, but at the same time. And my theory was, the longer you're in a relationship, the better you get to know someone. And the more you get to know someone, the more relaxed, comfortable, and happy the relationship becomes. So I got to know multiple guys at the same time, just to see which relationship fit. And coming out of that, so I never actually said to any of these guys, oh yeah, I'm dating another guy. It was like really, really quite exciting, which is why I discovered I was poly. But I realized that I liked different little things about each one, but not necessarily the full picture. There were things about them, I was like, oh, I can't stand this, I can't stand that. And I think I realized then that I was poly. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I needed to have several boyfriends at a time. And as that evolved, I then realized that actually I didn't want to have relationships with all of them. I just really liked some guys for their personalities and sometimes for the sex. And some guys were just basically like, oh, wow, you're a fucking beast. I just want to ride you. And that evolved from that. So that's become my style of polyamory, even, up to date, is basically I have to have a nucleus relationship, which is why I work really well in a marriage. Because to me, it's a natural fit. But every so often, if I want to go party, I go and party. And there's no emotional connection. The guys that I party with are really good friends. We have a good time. Sometimes we fuck, sometimes we don't fuck. But there's no drama, no issues whatsoever. And I don't get boiler bunny kind of scary, freaky attached. So I went through that phase, and I also went through a phase of dating power guys where I would intentionally seek out guys who, according to society, were stereotypically powerful. And then I would try and get them to do really humiliating things. In my mind, in those days, I mean, hey, now it's like, just horses for courses, shit that I do on a daily basis. But I used to get like these guys, like, like really sort of, I'm not going to say what kind in case, yeah. But, really sort of top level type guys. And I get them dressing up in dresses, guys who never dressed up before. I got them sticking things in their ass. I got them playing with my toys. And it was just like, I can do this shit. Fucking tits rule, mate. So, yeah, I think the one thing that I learned about myself since I became a dom is that there are spaces and places for that kind of dynamic. I've actually, according to my sister, I've actually become a lot more chilled out. But that coincides with having discovered BDSM. I was a proper little wild child because I needed to explore everything and everyone. But since I started to understand why I was doing it, it then became, well, I've got slaves for that shit. So if I get to know a person, I get to know them for them. I haven't got a secret agenda to try and turn them into my little, sort of dildo sucking slut or whatever. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. I've learned definitely to have conversations and have truly consensual relationships directly as a result of being a dom. I basically don't necessarily see myself as being just a dom. I see myself as being an agent of change, shall we say. I see myself as being someone who basically has conversations with people in as honest a way as possible. So in that respect, my peers aren't necessarily doms, because doms will come and go, and doms are in it for all sorts of different reasons, and I might not be every dom's flavor. I have great dom friends, don't get me wrong. All of my dom friends are absolutely brilliant. I don't hang around with people that I don't like hanging around with, because I find that tedious for my energy. So the people that I consider to be my peers really are just really sort of strong, empowered females, specifically females. And I think this is really because I grew up in a household which had a very strong matriarch. My mom is just tough as nails, and that woman did so much stuff that every single day I'm completely in awe of and inspired by her. She was in a country where it was very much male-led society, and a lot of the opportunities were only open to men. And as a woman, there was always constant challenges for her being in power, because she did quite a lot of work with NGOs in my country. And she ran quite a few gender empowerment programs, so she was traveling, back and forth between Scandinavian countries and the Western world, doing training and coming back to our country and then delivering projects. She did quite a lot of work, like really important, like, groundbreaking and life-changing work with women in our country. And she had a lot of backlash as a result of that. But I think a big part that I probably hope to emulate, and that I try and remain true to, is myself and my sense of self. And she always taught us that growing up, that, whatever people view you as, the best thing, the only thing that you can be is yourself. One fetish item I would take is a whip. Hopefully am I stranded alone? Oh, that's no good. I was gonna say I'll take a whip. If I'm there with a slave, I'll just whip the crap out of him. dude will be there making SOS signals out of coconut shells. Well, if I'm stranded alone on a desert island, oh god, what would I take? I just take a dildo. Yeah, not even a battery powered one, you know, I'll just go old school style, yeah. You know, hey, until you get rescued, might as well have a little bit of fun, right? It's like, you know, undisturbed pleasure time. No one to give you no grief. So yeah, with a slave, whip. On my own dildo. I'm basic, sorry. That weirdo who just did whatever the hell she wanted. Because basically that's just me. I don't really follow convention, I don't really follow rules. And I'm not here to please any particular person, I'm just here to please myself. And along the lines, I have met, and I know I will continue to meet, people that see the world in some ways like I do. And I want to remain open to those experiences, and I want to continue to grow every single day. So I just want to be remembered as the weirdo who did what worked best for her. Yeah. Anyway, I know it's been a really long interview, and I'm sorry I've ranted and raved for ages. But I really, really enjoyed it. And thank you for all the questions, FFF. And I wish you much luck and joy at the buzz at Female Fetish Federation. That's a proper tongue twister right there. Have yourself a wonderful day and a gorgeous 2019. Bye.